Tonight, climate chaos. Typhoon Gaemi keeps up its relentless assault as the Philippines and Taiwan sees shipwrecks and torrential downpours. Bidding farewell. US President Joe Biden addresses the nation from the Oval Office, endorsing Harris to carry forward. Chilling revelations. New details revealed about the assassination attempt on Trump shows more preparation went into the deed than previously assumed. And time for Taylor. The latest exhibit at the Victoria and Albert Museum in the UK puts the spotlight on the musical icon Taylor Swift with her very own showcase. All that and more as World News Tonight starts right now.
This is Derana, World News Tonight. Reporting from Colombo, here's Vinuth Warnasuriya.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight on World News, where we have a number of key stories to cover on our bulletin today, and we begin with some catastrophic weather updates in our region. Streets were quiet in Taiwan after a powerful deadly Typhoon Gaemi swept the island, killing at least 2 people and sinking a freighter offshore whose crew are still missing.
Typhoon Gaemi was the strongest cyclone to hit Taiwan in 8 years. The weather authority says the storm made landfall around midnight on the northeastern coast of Yilan, packing gusts of up to 141 miles per hour before weakening. The storm cut power to around 500,000 households in Taiwan, though the local power utility said most of it had been restored by midday Thursday. The government said on top of the 2 people killed in the storm, more than 260 were counted as injured. Gaemi dumped rain across the island, with eyewitness video showing floods in the southern city of Kaohsiung. Fire officials also said a Tanzania-flagged freighter with 9 Myanmar nationals on board had sunk off the city's coast. Authorities said they were searching for the crew, who have not responded to communications. Separately, Philippine officials said they were investigating whether a sinking of a marine tanker in rough seas off their own coast on Thursday was related to the storm. Gaemi did not make landfall in the Philippines, but flooded the capital Manila and nearby towns the day before, with hundreds of homes still without power. Officials said at least 14 people there had died. Meanwhile, Gaemi is now barreling toward mainland China, where forecasters there say they expect a less intense storm, but heavy rain in many areas. State media reports authorities gave warnings for coastal provinces Fujian and Zhejiang, suspended train services, and relocated some 150,000 people.
And over in neighbouring India now, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy pushed for a reset in bilateral ties with India. His trip oozed caution. The announcement were uncontroversial as both countries agreed to new tech security partnership.
Britain said it had launched a new technology security initiative with India aimed at boosting economic growth, fostering collaboration on telecom security, and unlocking investment in emerging technologies. The British government said the agreement would see the 2 countries work more closely together on critical technologies including semiconductors, quantum and AI. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy, who met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and India's Minister for External Affairs Subramaniam Jaishankar, also agreed to work more closely with India on tackling climate change, including mobilizing finance and accelerating a partnership on offshore wind and green hydrogen.
In the UK, Sir Keir Starmer faced his first Prime Minister's questions following a rebellion over a SNP vote aimed at lifting the 2-child benefit cap. He swiftly suspended 7 of his MPs from the Labour Party after they rebelled and voted with the SNP and against the government.
Good morning, Prime Minister.
At his own pace, confident in his own direction, Keir Starmer heading to Prime Minister's questions for the first time. A leader who wants everyone in his party going in the same way. He hoped a big warning about the future would keep his party together.
We have a more severe crisis than we thought as we go through the books of the last 14 years. We must review the challenges. I know they don't like it. They don't like it. There was a reason the electorate rejected them so profoundly.
But his own side are breaking ranks already. The Prime Minister suspended 7 left-wing Labour MPs who voted with Scottish nationalists to abolish the 2-child limit on benefit payments. The SNP claim it's a major moment.
In less than 3 weeks, he has had a significant rebellion. Is his honeymoon over before it's even begun?
More than 100 days of the Tory contest left. This man having to go through the motions. Today, wishing the Olympic athletes well.
To be honest, I'm probably not the first person they want to hear advice from on how to win.
Right now, Keir Starmer in clear command of what's going on in here.
In the Korean peninsula, now tensions remain as a balloon carrying trash sent by North Korea landed in the South Korea's presidential compound. The top office says it understands the seriousness of this latest incident.
North Korea sent a 10th round of trash-carrying balloons to the south on Wednesday, and one of them landed within the compound of South Korea's presidential office. The Presidential Security Service said nothing dangerous was found after an investigation by its response team. But a presidential official said that the office is aware of the seriousness. The official added that the exact location of the balloon was tracked in real time before it dropped, and that it's monitoring the situation in cooperation with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The military has been refraining from shooting the balloons down in mid-air to prevent their contents from spreading and causing further damage. Since late May, North Korea sent more than 3,000 trash balloons to the south in protest against anti-Pyongyang leaflet campaigns by North Korean defectors in the south. And the provocations continue despite South Korea resuming full-scale propaganda loudspeaker broadcasts along the entire border for the 4th day in a row on Wednesday. The North appears to have begun blasting buzzing sounds through its loudspeakers as well to prevent North Korean soldiers and residents from hearing the South's propaganda broadcasts.
With the Olympics set to kick off with a spectacular celebration on the scene tomorrow, brasserie shops and other small businesses in Paris are suffering a sharp drop in sales as footfall dwindles before the games, with arrivals of tourists and ticket holders yet to make up for an exodus of locals.
The gloomy retail period, coupled with warnings over weak revenues from some airlines and hotels during the event, has cast doubt on the scale of France's economic boost from the Paris 2024 Games. Inside a security perimeter along the banks of the Seine, impenetrable to anyone who has not pre-registered ahead of the opening ceremony on Friday, the collapse in clients has been even more drastic. Some restaurant owners were experiencing a 50% drop in July sales and were concerned about paying rents and salaries. For other businesses, the decline in revenue was as much as 70%, according to the hotel associations and other lobby groups that called for financial help, similar to that dispersed during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Tonight on the road to the White House, Joe Biden has said he couldn't let his personal ambition stand in the way of saving their democracy in a live address to the nation from the Oval Office, his first speech since announcing his decision to drop out of the presidential race.
As the sun descended, so did the crowds. Thank you, Joe! Thank you, Joe, they chanted outside the White House. Inside, the cameras rolled.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title.
This was Joe Biden at the Resolute desk. With his family looking on, he gave his reasons for stepping down.
I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation.
He told the American people it was his decision, even if they knew his party had forced his hand.
You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices.
White House staff gathered for the speech in the grounds. Donald Trump watched it in the air, an in-flight movie in which he co-starred.
The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands.
The president, deemed too old, spoke of his choice of a younger replacement.
I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable.
Washington will wake up after a day of protest against a visit by Benjamin Netanyahu. Today, the Israeli Prime Minister will meet the American president.
I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you.
After the public address, there was a private gathering with those closest. From the 46th president, it is the long goodbye, and it's emotional.
Meanwhile, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has held a rally for the first time since Joe Biden ended his bid for re-election. On Mr. Biden, Mr. Trump celebrated defeating who he called the worst president in the history of the US. He quickly turned to Kamala Harris, who he calls the most incompetent and far left vice president in the American history.
With the eyes of the world on the White House, tonight in North Carolina, Donald Trump plowing ahead with his campaign, taking the stage for the first time since Sunday's political earthquake.
Thank you.
President Biden out of the race. Vice President Kamala Harris, now Trump's new opponent.
Kamala Harris is unfit to lead. She's unfit to lead. She'll destroy our country in a year.
Trump, who spent years attacking Biden, now quickly trying to recalibrate to focus on Harris, zeroing in on her role in the administration. Harris tasked with addressing the root causes of migration at the southern border.
With all of the things they've done wrong, everything, the borders are. When you look at how bad they are, you say, you know, I like Trump, but now I really like Trump because we don't want to go back.
But several Republican members of Congress now taking aim at Harris's identity as the first woman of color to serve as vice president, labeling her a DEI hire, shorthand for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today in the New York Times, Hillary Clinton writing of Harris, I know she can defeat Donald Trump. But Clinton adding, I know a thing or two about how hard it can be for strong women candidates to fight through the sexism and double standards of American politics.
An update on the attempt of Donald Trump's life now. It was revealed at a Congress hearing that Thomas Crooks, the 20-year-old gunman who fired at least 8 rounds from his rooftop position, wounding presidential candidate Donald Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania, had also sought information on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
That's according to FBI Director Christopher Wray, who testified before Congress Wednesday about the agency's investigation into Thomas Crooks.
On July 6th, he did a Google search for, quote, how far away was Oswald from Kennedy? And so that's a search that obviously is significant in terms of his state of mind. That is the same day that it appears that he registered for the Butler rally.
Wray said Crooks fired at least 8 rounds from his rooftop position, wounding the Republican presidential candidate in the ear at Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, killing 1 rally attendee and wounding 2 others. Crooks used an AR-15 assault-style rifle with a collapsible stock.
The first people to observe him with the weapon were when he was already on the roof, and we haven't yet found anybody with firsthand observation of him with the weapon walking around beforehand. So that doesn't mean he wasn't, obviously, but the collapsible stock is potentially a very significant feature that might be relevant.
Wray also said Crooks flew a drone over the site of the rally about 2 hours before the shooting.
For about 11 minutes, from I think it's around 3:50 p.m. to 4 p.m., somewhere in that range, he was flying the drone, and we have the flight path. It's about 200 yards away from where former President Trump would ultimately be speaking.
Police found crude explosive devices in Crook's car and home, though the FBI believes the suspect would not have been successful had he tried to detonate the devices. In terms of a motive, Ray said investigators are digging hard, but have yet to come up with anything. He described the shooter as a loner and said there was no evidence at this point that anyone else was involved. The hearing was much less confrontational than one Monday, featuring the head of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, who faced bipartisan demands to quit over the failure to prevent the attempted assassination. She resigned a day later.
Still in the US, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was met with standing ovations at his address to a joint session of the US Congress, while protests outside echoed the pressure the Israeli leader faces at home.
Speaker, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was met with standing ovations at his address to a joint session of the U.S. Congress on Wednesday, while outside, Capitol Police deployed pepper spray on protesters opposed to the visit by the foreign leader.
America and Israel must stand together.
Netanyahu described the U.S. and Israel as allies in a joint fight against the threat posed by Iran and its proxy forces across the Middle East. And he thanked U.S. President Joe Biden for his support of Israel following the October 7th attack by Hamas gunmen from the Gaza Strip.
And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten.
But 10 months after that attack, in which the Palestinian militants killed 1,200 people and took more than 200 hostages, fighting rages on in the Gaza Strip, where Palestinian health officials say Israel's retaliatory operation has so far killed more than 39,000. Dozens of U.S. lawmakers boycotted his speech. Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib, who is Palestinian, sat in the gallery holding a sign declaring Netanyahu a war criminal. And the protests outside echo the pressure the Israeli leader faces at home. Israelis for months have been demanding he resign. Others are urging him to secure the release of more than 100 captives still believed held in Gaza. Ahead of his visit to Washington, families of the hostages pressed the prime minister to stay and work toward a potential ceasefire that would see their release. Netanyahu told U.S. lawmakers talks were underway at the moment that could lead to a breakthrough.
As we speak, we're actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now.
And he also described his end game after fighting had concluded.
Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask.
A senior Hamas official said Netanyahu's speech showed the prime minister did not intend to clinch a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with Biden this trip, as well as with Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news right after this. Welcome back. Outfit, musicals, instruments and other objects on a loan from musician Taylor Swift are going on display at London's Victoria and Albert Museum in a first-of-a-kind edition. Titled Taylor Swift's Songbook Trail, the temporary exhibition is made up of 13 installations dotted across the museum's many galleries. The team were given access to Swift's personal archives to pick items from the theatrically staged installations, which are placed in carefully chosen galleries that connect to moments in the 14-time Grammy winner's career. Taylor Swift, the Songbook Trail, is displayed throughout the V&A South Kensington from June 27 to September 8. According to the museum, the trail takes 60 to 90 minutes to complete. And with that, we mark the end of today's bulletin. We will see you again tomorrow with the latest happenings across the globe. Well, stay tuned as Anuradhi Vikramasinghe will join you next with the nightly business report. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.